All right, welcome to the post show of the Gadgets for Families Tech Show, the post show of the Tech Show. That's how this will go. But It's CES time of the year, and I got to tell you, my personal opinion is that as a general rule, the only thing CES is good for is to spread all of the colds and viruses and all of that kind of stuff that come from 6 gazillion people getting together in a location that I don't enjoy anyway.
Right.
And doing this thing that half of the stuff that gets announced never comes to market, never works out, and
Yeah.
that all of the big
Lots of
players
vaporware.
have abandoned, right? I mean,
Right.
they've all
Right. They pulled
taken
out.
Apple was the first,
Hmm.
and they've all taken Apple's lead and said, "Nope, we're just going to do all of our own stuff." So,
Yeah.
is that the case this year too for CES, Jason?
It seems like it. It seems like it, and that's been the case for the last 3 or 4 years. Well, 2020 was different for everything, every show, but yeah, the last few years, CES has not been what it's used to. It used to be. So a lot of the big players have pulled out, and there's a lot of predictable tech, right? Things just I guess the things that you would figure would be at the show, it's going to be at the show. There's not really much that's going to wow you or just knock you off your feet like it used to be in previous years. So
Yeah. I mean, I've seen things like, and I know you're going to get into some, but I've seen a lot of things in threads on smart locks. Like one of them was a facial
right,
recognition smart lock, and I'm sitting there going, okay, who's making that? Because if it's not reliable enough, how in the heck am I going to
right,
get in my house? Right? I mean, where do you
right,
hide the
right.
spare key to the back door so you can get in?
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of that kind of stuff, and then so what do we want to do? Do you want to talk CES first, or do we want to talk about the Apple announcement stuff first? You tell me. This is your post show.
Let's we'll stick through the let's stick to the CES stuff first because
Okay,
there's
cool.
not really much, right? And w- next week we'll have a bigger picture of what's coming out because we still don't know, right? This is just day two, so
Yeah.
we still don't know what's really good coming. So not much major. So we'll talk through this first, but as usual, like I said, nothing really wowing. Smart vacuums are getting smarter, lawnmowers are getting smarter, and
Okay.
some of the smart home tech is
S-
just plain dumb,
Side note on the
right?
lawnmower: when I move, if I need a lawnmower, I've
Right,
missed the point.
right.
Just
Yeah,
saying.
it's,
Take the
and I'm pretty
smart
sure some
lawnmower
of them.
off your list of things for me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you would need one, but it's cool to have. I guess just as cool as having a smart home vac, but you know, but some of the other smart home tech is just plain dumb,
Yeah.
right? For example, I saw this really cool. I mean, it looks really cool, right? It's just a nice polished piece of wood, right? And it just looks like a strip of wood, but it has LEDs in it, right? It lights up and it controls different smart home. It's a smart home controller, so it controls lights, basically a light switch. Looks really nice, but you have to press and hold on it to get it to activate. Once it activates, it shows you the button. Then you press the button to turn it off. It's like working backwards, right? Not intuitive at all. Not very functional, right? When you want to flip a switch, so you talk about smart home tech, right? It has to be easier than flipping a switch, right? You walk in a room, you flip the switch on, you flip the switch off, right? It has to be easier than flipping that switch. In my opinion,
Yeah.
that's how smart home tech has to be. Anything more than that makes it cumbersome just to turn on a light, right? I walk in a room and I say one word, lights, or turn on the lights, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's easier than flipping a switch. I find myself sometimes having to use the app and those widgets, when they created the widgets, that made it easier. They basically put the switch right on the screen of your phone instead of having to open the app and go in and unlock it. So if it's not easy than flipping a switch, it's dumb, no matter how smart they make it.
And that's
So,
honestly when I think about this current house, at least when I think about what would I want smart stuff for, I'm like,
right,
okay, turning on and off the lamp on the nightstand or that kind of stuff. Because almost everything else, I mean, my TV's always plugged in, right? And I can turn that
right,
on with with Siri. I've got
Yep.
all the Apple stuff. So I've just had a hard time thinking about where would I want the smart stuff here in my
Right.
current house. Now, it could be
Right.
because I want to move on, but anyway. So yeah, I agree. Smart doesn't necessarily mean easier. And in my
Yeah.
opinion, if it's not easier, I don't want it.
Yeah. It's pointless. Yep. Yep. I'm with you. I'm with you. So, but with that being said, next week we'll go into a good, the bad, the ugly. We'll have a segment next week, good, the bad, and the ugly of CES this week, and we'll talk about all the cool things and all of the really bad ideas that come out of CES. But let's talk about some of the things that really stood out that I saw that was really cool. So, the iPhone 15 Pro, it records 4K video at 60 frames per second. Right, looks amazing. Um, but the catch was you have to have an external drive connected to it. Right. Sounds really good. Sounds really simple, but when you think about it, how would that really work, right? You'll have the phone, you'll have a cord tethered to it, and maybe have the hard drive in your pocket or something. Well, a company called Hyper has created a MagSafe SSD enclosure. Really cool. Sticks on the back of your phone. It has a short little cable to plug into your for you it'll be the USB-C port on your phone. And you can install a SSD. It's one of those NVMe ones, so it looks like RAM, right? They come on
Yeah.
the little memory stick, and it's an SSD, and so you can buy the size that you want, whatever your budget will allow. So you can buy a 1 terabyte one if you can afford that, 500 gigs if that's what you want. Whatever size that you need. Um, Remember, when you're filming 4K at 60 frames per second, you're going
Oh
to
yeah.
need a lot of space because that's going to be a huge file, which is the whole point of having to recorded externally anyway, right? You hit record on a video file that big, after a minute or two, you're going to be getting a warning that you're out of space on the phone. So bigger, more capacity, throw it in an enclosure, stick it on the back of your phone, plug it in, have your buddy push you in the grocery cart, and you can film that perfect chase scene in 4K that you've been trying to get all in your phone without having to have all of these wires and stuff dangling. So we'll include a link to it in the show notes. It looks not nice. It could look a lot better, but again, this is all new. There's going to be 50 million Amazon knockoffs in the next few months or whatever. But yeah, a MagSafe SSD enclosure for the back of your phone. I thought that was a really smart idea. It looks really good. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't look good, but it's a really good idea.
I'm gonna have to keep something like this in mind because, yeah, I'd like to start doing some of that, like on my when I'm out camping and do
Right.
some recording and then also if you think about being able to record for Vision Pro, it's
Yes.
only 1080p at 30, which is not great, but you know if I wanted to go on a nature walk and record that
Yep.
and then be able to watch it on a Vision Pro later on, I'm going to need a lot of space. And you can record the other stuff straight to the hard drive too. It's not just 4K at 60. You can record any of that stuff to an external hard drive if you
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is great. This is useful.
Yes. This is one of the useful things. There's a lot of stuff that's like, why? But
Yeah.
this is really useful. And I can
Like
see this.
this next one that you have on your list, I'm looking at this one going, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah. So a GPS enabled dog collar, which you would
Great.
think would be cool.
Cool.
Right, right. But this one also tracks heart health and AFib in dogs. I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either. Now, I don't have pets. We finally let
Right, and I'm not a dog person
the
either.
kids got fish for Christmas. I would be. I'm allergic, so I can't do it. But I'm just sitting here going,
Right,
we grew up in a very different age, and you handled pets very, very differently. I'm just going to leave it at that.
right. Yeah, yeah. I say I'm not a dog person, but I've had a few strays in my life, and I the GPS thing I can understand because I didn't know dog theft was a big deal until I know that people were spending $5,000-6,000 for dogs. So
Yeah.
with all of the strays still running around, you could literally pick up a free dog somewhere. But hey, if you want to spend 5 G's for a dog, hey, go ahead.
Yep.
But now there's a GPS enabled tracker collar. It didn't look like bulky and uncomfortable, right? The GPS, the smarts was just like just a little box that sits underneath the. And I know it does the heart tracking and the reading and stuff like that, but yeah, not too much bigger than an Apple Watch, in that little section. So really cool. Came in some really cool colors. They had it on a really tiny dog model, and it was a really, really small dog, so won't be too terribly bulky. So I think that was something that really stood out. And a lot of my information came out too, because remember, again, we said this is day two. A lot of my sources got in a day early. I guess some of the influencers got to that reach Vegas early. They let them in a day early, so it wasn't terribly packed. It was just a lot of demos and stuff like that, and this was one of them. So
Cool.
really cool. This is one Greg sent to me, and I left this one for last because I wanted to have a bit of a conversation with it about it. So Belkin sent a MagSafe stand, right? And it's not just a charging stand. This one uses Apple's Dock Kit, which is, again, I think my first reply to you was, I didn't know Dock Kit did all of that. I thought it was
Yeah.
just going to be like pictures and stuff like that. So it allows them to use, like, I guess, facial recognition or facial tracking
And probably center
to have
stage
the
and some of those
yeah,
camera
yeah, and some
tabs.
other things. Yeah. And basically allows the camera to follow you around, right? So this is really cool because not yes, you can put, like, I have my camera now on a stand. It's not tracking me or anything, but think about this. This is really cool because we all know with every phone, not just iPhones, but iPads, Google phones, LG phones, the back camera is always going to be better than the front camera,
Yep.
right? That's just the technology that's in these things. And being able to use the back camera and not having to see yourself to make sure that you're in frame, right? You're not always having to constantly adjust to make sure that you're standing in frame. I mean, you can teach a whole seminar or a whole meeting. You can conduct a whole meeting and not have to constantly, I'm standing here, I'm standing here. And I actually saw it in motion, in action. It does a pretty good
Yeah.
job. It looked a little rough, like, right? I think software updates and stuff will probably get it to go a lot smoother. But man, this is really cool. I mean, what
Yeah.
do you think? Like,
I've got two uses for it. One, if it can track who's speaking, like if we were all sitting in my living room
hmm,
on my
I didn't
L-shaped
think about
couch
that. Yeah.
and we were using it on the Apple TV as continuity camera on a Zoom
Yep.
or FaceTime, and I'm on the far left and Wyatt's on the far right, if Wyatt started talking, if it could automatically go over
Yeah.
and zoom
Just
in on
turn.
him, that's the kind of stuff that I think longer term is going to be capable. But you could use this right now for
Yeah.
Zoom, and because Zoom is out on the Apple TV, or FaceTime on the Apple TV if you've got family spread out all over, which we're kind of planning on. That's kind of what we're planning. I mean, most likely my daughter and the grandkids are going to be close to us, but
Hmm.
Wyatt's going to go in a different direction. My other daughter's thinking about moving out of state, and I've still got Dustin that who knows where he's going to end up because he's still trying to figure
Right.
out his year before he goes to master's program. So that's number one. And then just this, with Wyatt recently saying I want to start recording my fitness stuff to be able to
Yes.
publish it. If they make it, what I really want to see is will they make it so you could set it on a tripod? Right? If you could
Yes.
do that and set it on a tripod, and if it's battery powered, I didn't see if it was battery or if it was plug in, but you got a couple of things like that. This is just the start of this, right? So
Yep.
if they start making some of that kind of stuff, I mean, he could sit it up on a little stool or something and go through a whole set of workouts on a
Right.
machine or on the free weights or stuff like that. And if it's just going to constantly track you, I did tell him he's got to get a lavalier mic because I wanted to have that right
Right.
for audio, but this would be great, right? And then he just
Right.
edits it, cuts what he wants, and good to go. Versus every time he gets done with a rep on something, having to go over and turn the camera and reposition it,
Right.
just have it go.
Right.
So,
Or even when he's in the middle of a set, not having to be conscious of being confined to that one
yeah,
space, making sure he's centered, making sure, because all that's important whenever you're producing a video like that. You
yep,
don't want to have half of the video and you're kind of off screen to the side and kind of,
yeah,
if this is going to adjust it for you, I think this is really cool. And so far, probably one of the best things to come out of CES so far.
yeah. And Belkin makes good stuff,
Yeah.
right? And so I want to see where this goes, like just give it an adapter so it'll screw onto any tripod.
Hmm.
Allow you to. I mean, even if you couldn't, if you're using a tripod, you could always just connect it to an external battery pack, right? And just
Right.
connect or hook it onto the tripod or something like that. So I just think this opens up a whole bunch of possibilities for those kinds of things. And if I think about what I want to do longer term, video around camping or stuff like that, if I want to give you a tour of how I've set up the trailer at a particular campground, I just stick it
Hmm.
on the middle and I can walk, right? And it's just gonna,
Right.
and I think it was 360 too, right? So it's just gonna
Yep. Yep.
keep going to find you. I think there's tons of possibilities, especially for creators and for those that are
Yeah.
gonna spend a lot of time on video calls.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked it. I liked it. So, technology like this have existed, right, for the corporate world,
Yeah,
right? Some of those higher end video conferencing equipment, but I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars
yeah.
for that type of technology. And yeah, this puts it in everyone's reach. This puts it in the regular Zoom meeting, person that hosts Zoom meetings out of their home. This puts it in their reach.
And what if they put MagSafe on the new iPad Pros, and then you
Yeah.
can connect the iPad so you got a bigger viewing screen? I mean, I don't know if you remember when we were working together, but if I was doing conference calls and no video, right?
Hmm.
I'd have a headset on. I was always wandering my
Right.
office, right?
Right. Yep.
So if I wouldn't do it if I was on presenting to an executive or something like that, that would probably be bad, right? But if I was just on with my team, they don't care if I'm pacing in my office and the camera's following me
Right.
back and forth and we're having a conversation. I think it'd be great. So I love this idea. This is a great start on DotKit, which could have gone by the wayside, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
something Apple announced, and everybody just saying, "Yeah, we're just going to stick the phone on a tripod in front of the TV
Yeah.
or a
I can see
stand
the
and call it good."
calendar. I can
Yeah,
put my app on the screen or whatever. That's what I thought it was. But
yeah.
yeah,
No,
it
this is
turns
cool.
out it's way more powerful than I thought.
Yep.
So I'm going to skip ahead a bit now, um, because we keep mentioning Apple making an announcement of the Vision Pro, right? Which is designed to steal all of the thunder out of CES.
Well, should
And
we tell people what they did? Because we haven't even mentioned
well,
what actually happened.
no, before we do,
Okay.
but I just want to let people know that Apple did make an announcement. The Vision Pro is
Okay.
coming. We'll talk about those specs, but someone didn't want to be outdone by Apple,
Ah, there. Right
and
now I
that
see
was
where you're
Sony.
going.
So, not wanting to be outdone by Apple, Sony announced that their AR, VR, mixed reality headset. They also said 3D modeling too, which is a big deal. So they announced their headset. I don't believe it has a name. I was looking for the name of it, but another headset kept coming up. So it looks like a stripped down version of the PlayStation VR 2, which is their VR headset, right, for gaming and stuff. But what this is going to be for is for creating 3D model and 3D environments and 3D content to be consumed on VR headsets. Now, hopefully, this plays nice with the Vision Pro and other, mixed reality headsets and stuff.
Or we
Probably
get
not
some or we
starting
get
off.
some really smart developers that create the tools to do
Yeah,
it, because
yeah, to
my
kind of
understanding
bridge this
is
gap.
there's already a tool or an app or something that will allow you to take your spatial video that you record with your iPhone and put it on a MetaQuest.
Okay, okay. So if they're working on that, then
Yeah.
they should
There should
at
be a
least
whole
play
market for
nicely.
that, right? To
Yeah,
to take the
yeah.
various formats and be able to play them on whatever device you have.
Yeah, whatever you have. So, and hopefully, in the next few years, once their headset is released and what other, players are coming to the market, they get together and they say, hey, we need a standard. Let's all play nice together. These devices are crazy expensive to try to lock people into an ecosystem. So, not wanting to be outdone, they announced that. It looks really cool. Um, they showed a guy doing some 3D modeling and stuff like that, which this kind of reminds me of, remember Microsoft's I should have looked up the name. Microsoft had a mixed reality headset. It
Hmm.
was some goggles or something like that, and it was for, they showed people doing maintenance on cars and rebuilding an engine, and they showed some medical personnel doing procedures and stuff like that. And I think that was Microsoft's vision for that product. Um, never. never really saw it through, never really pushed it through. They kind of let that go to other companies, right? So Apple's going to pick up the ball and run with it. But this kind of looks like that more so than the actual like just VR wearing out in public kind of headset. This is more for creation. So it looks really good. We'll have a link to Engadget's story on it, but more details to come on that. They really didn't share much because of course this is still in production for them. Another thing, they drove a car out on the stage. This was about their AI initiative and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into any detail. They didn't really provide a whole lot of details, but they drove a car out using a PlayStation 5 controller. Thankfully, he didn't drive the car off of the stage and no one got injured because those controllers are terrible with drift. My son's is less than a year old, and I already had to replace his controller. Actually, he replaced his own controller. I was proud of him. He works hard. He makes his own money and stuff like that. So, um, but to have to buy a new controller already, yeah, Sony, I'm not gonna let you live that down. That is garbage.
So, Jason, Sunday I was driving in the snowstorm here, and
Yeah.
we were on our way home, and I needed to make a lane change, and I drifted just like in Mario Kart on purpose, of course, right?
Right. Right.
That made me think of that. But my kids have been playing a lot of Mario Kart. My middle grandson is just hooked on
Yeah.
Mario Kart.
Oh, he's gonna be an expert. He's gonna be the one to beat in the home. Right. Everybody's gonna have to go up against him at some point.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that was it. Sony just didn't. They didn't want Apple to steal all of the thunder, so they announced theirs real quick, and it looks cool. Look forward to see what's coming in the future. But this is the big one.
Well, hold on. Let me announce the other small one first then. So, not to be
Okay.
outdone, XREAL, and we've talked about the XREAL glasses. These are the glasses that
Yes.
Federico Vitici connects to his iPad to do stuff at night, right? So they've
Hmm.
announced their newest one as well, which are the
Okay.
XREAL Air Ultra. So
All right.
$700. I mean, they actually look pretty good. Um,
So
but yeah,
this is a
you
more premium version because the other ones were, I believe, three
yeah, three
hundred or
ninety
three
nine. So you can
fifty and
still
four
you
ninety
can.
nine. Yeah.
There's a 399. There's a 449. There's a two ninety
Yeah.
nine, and there's a 119 for an accessory thing. But I don't know a whole lot about these, but all of them they have to actually connect to some things, right? So this is not
Yeah.
a computer operating system in and of itself, right? It's
Right.
not. You're gonna connect these to a device that basically it's a screen is my understanding. Now I don't know a ton about
Yeah.
them. Definitely on the Air that was the case because you're connecting that. But it says here that you can connect your iPhone, your Android, your MacBook, your Steam Deck, all
Hmm.
that kind of stuff, right? And so they're trying to tout this as we can beat the Vision Pro for $700. Now, here's the
Yeah.
thing.
They can't.
Well, it depends on what you want to use this for. So this is what I'm thinking about here is if all I want to do is project my existing devices
Right.
up into virtual reality or augmented reality, these might be fine, right?
Right.
Because the Vision Pro is its own operating system. I mean, yes, you can throw your MacBook screen up in there, right? But other than that, it is its own thing,
Hmm.
right? It's its own operating system. So it's a full blown computer in and of itself. If you don't care about that, if you don't care about being able to run iPad apps natively on there, or if you don't have a Mac, all you're doing is saying, I want to hook my iPad up to a monitor, but I don't want to buy a monitor because I live in an
Right.
RV and I don't have room for a 32-inch 4K monitor in my RV. I just want
Right.
to do this, or I want to be able to do it outside at the camp table. I'm sitting here thinking, that might work.
Yeah. It might work at 350, not $700 though.
Well, I need to look into the difference between these new brand new ones, right?
Yeah.
And their older
Yeah. I guess the
models.
specs. You're right. The specs matter. So if they really, I mean, $700, of course, it would have to be twice as good as the 350 model,
Yeah.
right? More so, more so. So I just don't know. And I've seen those in action, right? You sent me the link to it, a few months ago, and I've been looking into it. It shows up in my feed with some of the gamer channels that I watch, and these guys have been using it for gaming and stuff. Um, there's one of the versions, I think the more expensive one, has where the shades will dim like automatically, like you press the button and it'll dim automatically, or you press the button and it'll unshade and people can see your eyes and you can have a conversation and then go right back into it. Really cool. These are really cool glasses. I guess I really need to look into this $700 pair to see what
I'm
they
going to look into
included that'll make
this.
it worth it.
I'm going to look into this. But here's the
Right.
thing. Whether Apple's Vision Pro is successful or not
Mm-hmm.
is still TBD, right? I
Right.
mean, it's super expensive. It's going to take a couple more years before they get one that most people could even consider purchasing. Get it
Right.
down into the $1,500 range, which is not cheap still, right?
Yeah.
But what
But it's
it's
more of a consumer product,
yeah,
at
but
that point.
what they're going to do, just like they do everywhere else, is they're going to force people to make better versions of whatever they want. Now,
Right.
it may not be the full thing. Like if you think about tablets, right? I mean, there were tablets before the iPad. And now all of a sudden Apple comes out with the iPad and nothing touched it, right? It's still the
Right.
best selling tablet, but
Right.
Samsung's tablets got better and Kindles got
Yep.
better and all of these other things, and other people started making them, which means that I can take my personal requirements for what I need and
Mm-hmm.
say what works for me.
Right.
Now, if I want the Vision Pro, and I've been thinking a lot about this because I don't think I'm going to buy a Vision Pro this year. I just think it's going to be out of my price range, right, for
Mm-hmm.
all the other stuff I want to do this year. But TBD on that. But if I were to say, I really don't want to, I'm going to spend a week at a time working at this campground, then I'm moving to this campground and I want to sit outside at the picnic table, or I want to go
Yeah.
hike the nature trail and sit up on top of the mountain and do work for a couple of hours. One, I probably don't want to take the Vision Pro with me, even if I had it on that.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I may not want to take my MacBook, but if I had something like this and I could just take my iPad and plug my iPad into it and work off the smart keyboard and do this from on top
Yeah.
of the mountain. This I could throw in my backpack on my
Right.
bike,
Right.
right?
It's more portable. Yeah.
Correct.
And the
So,
way the battery situation is set up too with these things makes
yeah.
it more portable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, my point with all of this is we're going to have options. Apple's going
Yeah.
to drive the market to provide options. Whether their initial take on this ends up being successful or not, we're going to have other things like this that are going to keep coming out. So this is something I am definitely interested in exploring this year. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see where I end up.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Just like the watches too. There were smart watches, there were Fitbits and all of that, and the Apple Watch hits. It forces everybody to step their game up.
Yep.
So yeah, if anything, it'll make a better Sony product. It'll make a better,
Yeah.
whoever else jumps into the game. So while we're talking about it, let's get to the star of the show here,
Yep.
and that's Apple's Vision Pro. Because when you sent me the link to it, I'm like, wow, already?
Yeah.
So
And
it took me off guard.
not, hey, it's coming in 3 months, which was the bigger
Yep.
surprise for me. It's one, it wasn't an event, and I thought they would do another event, but it's CES, so they weren't going to get anybody coming to it
Yeah.
anyway. But this
Right.
is totally overshadowing CES, which Apple tends to like to do.
Yep.
So it's pre-orders next Friday, the 19th, and shipping starting on the 2nd of February. So
Right.
that's a surprise from a date standpoint, right? But also that weekend, February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, I think is that weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apple stores will allow you to walk in, first come, first serve basis,
Mm-hmm.
and demo the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
So all of this talk that people have been speculating on, and we won't go into it here necessarily, about you're going to have a personalized try-on appointment to make sure you get the right inserts and all of this kind of stuff. It seems like they're doing things a little more generically. They're shipping with 2 different face inserts to try and fit
Right.
into your face.
Like that original Apple Watch.
Yep.
with the extra band.
with the extra
Yep.
band. Yep.
Yep.
Which is probably okay because if you buy one, you may want to share it with somebody, and they may need the other size, so you've
Right.
got it right. Um, then they announced that it's $99 for reading glasses inserts for those that just need to use reading glasses, and it's
Okay.
$149 if you need prescriptions and you have to order them through their partner. I mean, we're going to get more information. They didn't drop a whole lot of information on that.
Yeah.
And then the $34.99, $3,499 is for the 256 gigabyte, which sort of implies that there will be more storage options available, and it'll just go up from there. So it's
Yeah.
actually a little more detailed, not a ton, right? It'll come with 2 different straps, and most importantly, you get a cleaning cloth in the box with it, right? You
That's
gotta
good.
gotta the Apple $19 cleaning cloth that you're supposed to use to
Right.
clean all your Apple stuff. They're including it
A
in the
nice,
box.
nice microfiber cloth. Yep.
Yeah. So I, I'm surprised at a lot of this. I'm not surprised that they're charging for the extra inserts, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that doesn't surprise me
Yeah.
at all. But I mean, what do you think, Jason? Where are you at now? It got me a little more excited. Not that I think I'm going to try and get in line on that first day. And I know if I don't, that means I probably won't be able to get one like this year. They're going to sell every single one of these that they can make.
Right.
Right. I mean,
They are.
but they're going to be supply constrained. It's brand new, all
They
that
are.
kind of stuff. But they're going to sell everyone. So I kind of think if you don't get in line on day one, I already saw one of the media folks that said, I just connected the dots that I'm going to be on an airplane when pre-orders open. And it's like,
Yeah.
you may want, if you really need this, you may want to change that flight
Right.
because I think you're going to want to get in as soon as possible. Or I personally think it's going to be months before you
Yeah.
can order one and get it within a reasonable amount of time. What are your thoughts?
Right. So, we talked about getting it. We were excited for it after the announcement and things like that. But I think we got to the point where, like, we talked about the price, right? This price is the price out just the casual, Apple fans and the people who want to just buy it just to have it, right? You price them out of the game. You make it so that only your content creators, of course, the influencers and the bloggers and stuff, they're going to get their hands on one too. But for the most part, you want to make sure that the content creators, the developers, the people who are really going to use this thing, because at this point, people really still don't know what they need this for,
Right.
right? The people who are going to give you the ideas of how you're going to implement this thing in your life, let's get it in their hands first, right? So, no, I don't think I'm going to get one just to play around with it, just to have it. You know what I mean? At one point, we figured, maybe we can use this to try to develop a new type of show, a new type, and we still may, because we can at least create the content for it, even if we can't, um, consume that content on a Vision Pro. But well, at this point, I think I'm fine with that. Let's let this get in the hands of the people that need it. Not necessarily all of the people that want it just to play around with it, the tech geeks and so on. And let's see what people can do. I'm excited to see what people can really turn out,
Yeah.
what apps they can create, use cases that they can use, because they made the video and they showed the people in the hotel room, and of course they mentioned being on a plane and stuff like that. But no, let's see what people create. It has to
Yeah.
go well beyond that. So
Yeah. I mean, I'll put this plug. We joke around about this all the time. If y'all want to go in and hit the Venmo or the Patreon links for us
right, right,
and get us up to about 8K, that we'll be happy to go buy two and spend 6
yes,
months just covering the Vision Pro if y'all want us to do that. But
right.
I
We'll
think
do that. We'll create a show based
sure,
on the Vision Pro, right?
sure. But I think I'm more likely to take a chance on something like the one of the versions of the XREAL glasses
Right,
um, sooner rather than later as we get into
right.
this kind of stuff as a stepping point in, and maybe not the $700 ones. Maybe I don't need those. Maybe it's the $449, the Pro version, or the $399, the regular one,
Yeah,
something like that. Just to see, because when I envision putting aside the show, when I envision using the Vision Pro, right, I see it as I've got my productivity stuff up in front of me on a giant screen, and I'm working on a keyboard, I'm seeing it as actually enabling my productivity versus what I have now, which is 3 different monitors going right now. And I'm having to try and juggle between, I move windows back and forth and some of that kind of stuff for my workflow. But I mean, my business is consulting, right? So I'm in enterprise apps, I'm in Word, I'm in Excel, I'm in PowerPoint, I'm, reviewing stuff on the web, I'm looking at software, I'm building project plans, that kind of stuff. That's my job. So I see it doing that. And if I have the iPad Pro or I have my MacBook Pro and I just plug it into those glasses, and I get that same thing, that might be enough for me until everything settles, until Disney shows me that they're releasing this brand new Star Wars show and it's going to be that good in the actually, by the way, Monarch Legacy of Monsters on Apple TV Plus, the Godzilla show, is fantastic. It is so good. There's some of the stuff in it that I don't like, but overall as a show, it is fantastic. And I would love to watch something like that in immersive spatial video. But until there's enough of that, right, I just can't do it. And my wife and I watched that show together. What are you going to do with the Vision Pro? You're going to both put one on? Then it's like a $8,000 investment in the house just to be able to sit and not be able to talk to each other while we watch shows.
Disconnect yourselves to reconnect. Watching the show together. It's kind of,
So I want to see some of that stuff play out. So I think personally I'm more likely to try something like the XREALs before I jump into the Vision Pro. But who knows? I mean, Apple's reality distortion field gets more powerful as people get their hands on these devices. Either it's going to go really, really well or it's going to flop, right? And I don't think either of those things is the long-term outcome of this. I think it's going to take a couple of years, right, before we know whether this line of products is a success or not. So that's kind of where I'm at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I kind of feel the same way. The XREAL, like I said, I saw them in action, and I'm more willing to try one of those right now versus jumping into the Vision Pro.
Yep. So if anybody from XREAL is listening to the podcast and y'all want to send us one to test out or try, we'll be happy to do so and cover it on a show. Feel free.
We will actually put it to use all week. We can really get some good usage out of it. So.
All right, Jason, that's it. A little bit longer than I expected for the first show. Our this is what happens with New Year's resolutions. On day one, it's gone. We did not make an hour-long show, so.
No. But like you said, you're going to split them up. We're going to release it.
Yeah.
The first, of course, the main show is going to be long, but yes, you'll be able to get the segments that you want later this week.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Let us know how you plan on using your tech to get more out of life this year, and we will talk to you next week.
Yep. See you then.